Continuing on with my recent theme of track work, although this one's a little tenuous, the link that is. So I bought this Scenecraft Bachmann washer plant when it first came out, quite a number of years ago now. I bought it to replace the old Lima washer plant that I had from even longer ago. Good for its time, it really wasn't compatible with more modern rolling stock and locomotives, because it had a tendency to rip all of the fine details off of the sides because of the rollers that clamped onto the vehicles that went through it. I'm also guessing that quite a number of you have one of these as well, and I also recognise that quite a lot of people will have just put it on a straight section of track, not really knowing what to or how to create a scene around it. So I'm going to show you how I've done mine, which is only one of many solutions to this sort of conundrum, utilising one of my old friends, the PECO Inspection Pit. Something that I've used in a couple of videos before, namely the bridge and the fuel point, and no guessing, it's not going to be an inspection pit in this one either. Using the same method to create a little channel in the I said using, hang on. Right, that's better. Now, using the same method as I did in the last video with the PECO shed to create a trough in the baseboard using the router, and we can find a piece of styrene sheet which is exactly the same thickness as our cork underlay. In this case it's 1.5mm cork, so that means it's 60 thou plasticard. In that piece of plasticard we'll cut a hole that's in the middle and fits the trough of the pit exactly. And then we can glue everything up, making sure that everything is in alignment and straight. Next we're going to do a little bit of technical stuff with a ruler, and that's going to be to measure the inside of the washer plant. It should be around 42mm. That's depending on how many times you've dropped it and had to glue it back together again. In my case, at least twice. Then we can measure the footprint of the pit, and that should be about 28.5mm. That means we need to find about 13.5mm extra width on the pit width. Cutting some styrene sheet to the correct measurement and then cutting it in half, placing a piece each side of the pit, we should find that the washer unit sits exactly with no gap. Then with some additional styrene strip, we're going to create a sort of perimeter around the entire assembly that we've already made. This should lock in place the washer unit so that it just sort of clips in and out when we need to do maintenance, clean track or whatever. To finish off, we'll put the steps supplied in the inspection pit kit right on the very end. Before we head off to paint, I'm just going to trim the sides off of the base that we've made, just because the ballast won't stick to plastic. Well, not very well anyway. For paint, we'll start off with some Halford's Grey Primer. That will just give us a nice base to work off of. As in most of the other videos that I've done, which involves concrete, I'm going to be using buff and deck tan with some white highlights. This time painted with a brush and just randomly dipping in and out of each of the different paint pots, blending the colours just randomly. I did it with a paintbrush this time because there's a lot of nooks and crannies and the pit is quite deep, so the sponge wouldn't quite have worked. I did use the sponge later, but after this first coat had dried. Again, the lighting doesn't do it justice because with the sponge you get just that texture to feel with it, and the colours pop out a lot more in natural light than under artificial lights in the camera. I'm going to employ the same cheat tactic for the rails again as in the last video by measuring the amount of sleepers that I need to take out, stripping out all of it, and then feeding the rails back through the assembly that we've just created, and then feeding the sleepers back on the other end to create a nice long stretch of rail. Talking of rail, we're going to paint that with some nice NATO brown, give it 2 coats to get maximum coverage. I only painted the rail that's within the washer plant unit. The rest of it will get painted when I do the weathering and ballasting in future videos. With the washer unit in situ, it does still look a little bit bland, but that's probably because it's in a non-scenic area at the moment. I may, in the future, decide to put some pre-wash and rinse water jet arms up. I might even strip down the old Lima one and use those. We'll see. And it's definitely not the only solution to the conundrum of how to set the washer unit into the scene of the rest of the model railway. This has been a quick and easy project. It actually took me longer to produce the video than what it did actually to make the whole washer unit. While it's still warm enough for me to be outside and I've got the enthusiasm to do it, I'm going to continue on with the track series of videos. After that, we'll revert to wagons and engines indoors. Until then, thanks for watching. See you very soon.